if you look at the 20 improved, they're not really related to releasing water, that kind of information. They're more related to sharing data and improving systems to make sure that we either can do that in an automated manner or that we have processes in place to better share and communicate data. So it would have helped, I think, with the forecasting and public notice piece, but not with the flood levels.
Let me qualify that. If you think about what Mr. Sneed was doing at the time, and he was the key guy, taking in all the information, communicating to the project managers what needed to happen, it was probably more chaotic than it should have been, although I think an event like this is going to have some degree of chaos to it no matter what you do. But it was more chaotic than it should have been because we collectively, and this is not Bob's fault, we corporately did not take account of these extreme events and put in place a system that would let us work to maximum level of smoothness during an extreme event. So I think that would have been the difference. Could we have made different calls? We haven't found any. Now it's not to say it couldn't have happened, but the process did not reveal that. Okay, and sir, you had a question back here, and then we'll go to you, sir.
Moving forward to, let's hope we never have one of these events again, but if we do, I notice I'm still hearing a lot of, it's the National Weather Services, the way the roles are, they communicate to the public, here's where the flood is. Why doesn't the Army Corps take on that responsibility itself? You guys know what the levels are. Why not you guys be the ones to communicate?
Well, the Weather Service they're the experts. They have the talent, they have the skills, they have the infrastructure to predict precipitation and to make forecasts based on that. They have those talents. The Corps of Engineers is not designed to do that at all. The Corps of Engineers is designed to manage water once it's on the ground and flowing through the flood risk management projects and the navigation projects. That's what we do. Again, where we did not perform as we should have was to give the Weather Service clarity and real-time information about what was flowing through the project so that they could make those forecasts. So why don't we do it? Because we just don't have the competencies to do it. It's really more the nature of the Weather Service to do it. That's fundamentally why.
If I can ask a follow-up question that just directly relates to that, how are you going to, with the National Weather Service, inform people? I mean, one of the things I hear from people again is that, hey, I knew there was a flood warning, but I didn't know how that affected me individually.
Yeah.
Are you going to? I mean, is there going to be some kind of a system where the public can log online and see maps of Nashville and know, and you know, street to street, hey, we think flooding is going to be in this section? Is that possible? Is that feasible?
It is possible. It would be very expensive to develop that, and that's one of the challenges. So as we work with the Weather Service and our higher headquarters on these lessons, one of the things that we intend to discuss is what more can we do to provide higher fidelity in the predictions and the forecasts of what's going to happen in a forecasted flood event. To do that, you need an incredible amount of geospatial data and to do the inundation mapping that Rich talked about. That is expensive. So we do have limited budgets, and the Corps can only do so much with those limited budgets, and we as a nation have to make choices about what we do and what we don't do. These choices are very challenging. There's a lot of different issues that we manage, and this is going to have to be addressed at the national level. Now, we do have as a result of the 2008 spring flood events, we do have a process that's ongoing with the Weather Service and the USGS primarily, but several other agencies are involved, that is looking at how we can corporately, as an interagency team, improve the way we do predictions and forecasts and communications and management. This flood event is an input into that process. It's a fusion team. Rich talked about the IRIS process, and so we're working with them to help get the data that can inform the kinds of decisions that could result in the inundation mapping vision of a perfect future. But that's a long way off, and as I said, it would be very expensive.
How are people going to know, though, with what you're planning? If you, let's say you do improve a way to I mean, how
if you're in a floodplain, you need to know what flood stage your structure is at, and you need to know how high, where you need to go to get out of the floodplain. Personally, I would never buy property in a floodplain. I recognize that people, it's done in the past, people have inherited property, they maybe didn't realize it, and we didn't communicate it as well as we should have, we corporately, the federal government or local government in the past. Those are things that we can work on, but there's also an individual responsibility to understand if you're in a floodplain or near a floodplain to understand what that means to you personally. Other questions? Ann, you had one earlier.
I did. So have y'all gotten cell phones and laptops and air cards for your folks?
Yes.
Is it like
Bob, where are we on implementing the improvements? Go ahead.
Well, I'm a proud BlackBerry carrier now. We have air cards, so that'll allow us to communicate and to gather data should
Is it like one air card between y'all?
Well, we have a couple right now, and we have access to others, but we have two directly for our office. And so, for example, in the May flood, had we had those air cards, we could have gotten up-to-date stream flow information because we download that information to an alternate site that's not dependent on a computer there in the federal field. So what we had, as far as during the event, access to that information was through cell phones that had internet access. But
And
now
it
we
worked, but it was awkward and it was slow.
Correct. Correct.
And what other improvements have y'all actually put in place?
I'm going to ask Colonel Mitchell to come up here and comment about what he as a district commander is doing across the district to pull this together at his level. Anthony.
I'm Lieutenant Colonel Mitchell, Nashville District Commander, and what I like to be able to say is we have improved our communication architecture within our building to be able to communicate internally as well as externally. So these issues that you spoke about air cards and laptops and BlackBerries and those mechanisms, we have went out and purchased and ensured that the appropriate individuals have those things. We've also looked at this event and we have modeled it to a degree where we're exercising it, and we have done this at least twice, where we've taken the event and we've got our essential personnel, which was one of the things that we identified as a flaw initially, was those people we deemed to be key and essential personnel to make decisions. We have exercised that and we have practiced that. We've identified who those individuals are. We have a crisis action team in place. We've exercised our crisis action team. We have what we call a rapid ready response vehicle. We've exercised that vehicle for communication purposes as well. So we've greatly improved our emergency readiness posture throughout the district to be able to address an unforeseen event such as this next week.
Let me expand on it. And Colonel Mitchell just made an extremely important point. It's not just about the tools that you have. It's about knowing how to use them. And if you don't have exercises that test your capabilities, you're just not going to be able to apply those tools in a way that's effective or efficient when the emergency actually occurs. So what Anthony has done is put together this system that is actually going to do that, and we intend to broaden that across our region and share it with some of our fellow districts and divisions, and find out what they're doing so we understand how they're applying this as well, so we can learn from each other and progressively improve together, so that wherever a flood happens in these United States, that the Corps of Engineers can respond to its best ability to the event. Any other questions? Anybody on the phone? Any other questions?
Yeah, hi, I have a question. I just want to clarify something that was said. I think, do I understand correctly that one of the communication problems with the Weather Service was that people there at the Corps assumed that the Weather Service would know that the floodgates were fully discharging because of the level of the pool? Is that what I heard?
Yes, that's correct. That was our assumption based on previous events. That's what we understood the Weather Service to understand, and that was a misunderstanding. So again, we are working. Details like this are very important between our agencies, and we've got to work